There's one thing that we're going to pay attention to today as we go into CPI, and that's the fact that these daily expected moves for tomorrow are absolutely insane. They're actually insane. And so the implied volatility going into tomorrow being the CPI day, we got PPI today, came in at 0.2, the previous was 0.4, and the consensus, the forecast was 0.3. So that actually coming in at a good reading, and now we're starting to see the 10-year yield kind of go sideways and the dollar actually drop off. So we have a lot to get into as we get into that technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, and going into AMC and GME because there was quite the bloodbath there, and we got some stuff to say about it. So let's get into it. To start off, we're just noticing that one, the daily chart still has not confirmed up. Remember to always be keeping the daily chart in mind. And our 2-hour chart is what we were really watching. And yes, you did curl up, but unfortunately it was on the last bar of the day. This would be something that would be, hey, that might be taking a chance because that last 2-hour bar only has 30 minutes in it. Maybe you want to look at the aftermarket or the futures market to get a little better hint there. But I've already started to dabble in some options for some bullish trades, actually. We'll see if those actually turn out to be good because we're paying attention to the risk, and that risk is something bad can happen or something good can happen with the CPI. All we know is there's going to be a big move because look at that daily expected move going all the way up to 591.65. We have seen weekly expected moves this wide, and you're seeing it for one day. So 591.65 to the upside takes you up towards the breakdown area and where we actually have the weekly expected move. So very, very cool. Then we notice to the downside, we still have that 572.73. So don't think that this means we have to go up because implied volatility is higher. It will be very important to see the reaction to CPI. And one thing we noticed about today was the 30-minute was never able to confirm down. This is fantastic. What we were paying attention to, if you were here for the live show and you watched last night's video, this right here for the SPY, right? The left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder that could form. We were aware of this scenario playing out where this 30-minute isn't able to cross back down. You see a 15-minute maybe cross up, and then you're like, okay, we're back in it. Now, my mentality during this was we're really carving out that right shoulder. If we were really seeing this news as bearish, which is really not the bearish news according to the market at this point, and having PPI come in lower should be a good thing for the yields to possibly come down, especially if it matches with the CPI tomorrow. So the fact that we made this, I did end up managing trades, and then it came down, saw the next curl up, I set it again, and then we dropped one more time. And actually on the way up, I was just telling myself, well, the really important thing is just we don't lose this low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself some time. If we lose that low, I'll get out and then think about getting back in at later times. But for now, we're looking pretty good. We're looking like we're forming that base, and the ultimate signal is, hey, the 30 minutes trying to go positive, and the 2-hour technically with this chart here is confirmed up, but we would want to see that extend in the morning and take back this 5. So it is looking like a lot of the signals we were talking about, the triple divergence on the MACD, the divergence down here that is holding with the main point for the RSI, getting it to come above the signal line there for the RSI. Things are looking a little bit bullish here for the time being. And by bullish, I mean looking at some stuff that I'm willing to put money behind that they're going to go up. The Qs in similar fashion, I have to zoom, I have to pull this all the way down to get you guys this weekly or this daily expected move tomorrow. Look how big this range is, 516.13 to the upside, 494.03 to the downside. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to tell you guys what this is. What's going on here with the Qs? Well, tomorrow they have almost 42%. You do not see things like that unless you're really in some kind of like bear market most of the time, right? That times where volatility is extremely high. 42% in a day. You do not see that very often throughout the year, so be paying attention to your stocks tomorrow. That's going to be very, very important. Notice here that the 2-hour was not able to confirm up. That was crossing up through our signal line that we just added for the time being to help with some confusion in a few charts. But this is taking that tick up. You would like that to see above the center line there, and then you'd like this to be curled up on that MACD to get through that center line as well. But we're just noticing that, throughout this area, we've talked about as bear market behavior. From this point here, we're like, okay, now we're dropping down again. Now it's really looking like we're trying to form some base on shorter time frames. We see on the 30-minute. What'd you do in here? Well, we didn't really have the reversal signals here on the 30-minute for the Qs, so very interesting. So what do we need to be aware of right away for the Qs? Well, the Qs actually are not trying to really go positive yet. looks like they need a little bit more time. So if this wanted to curl down, it's in negative territory. It's right by that center line. If that curls down, what's likely to happen? Well, you can actually see a pretty damn big move all the way down to the weekly expected move bottom side at 494.03. And so that's what I'd be paying attention to if I was looking for something that seemed a little bit bearish, maybe a management of the trade. If we look in the 2 hour actually crosses up, where are we likely to get to? Well, we're pretty much going to be beaming for that weekly expected move. And if you get a solid curl up, man, if that bullishness still kicks in the whole time, you know, if you don't fill this gap and see some resistance, man, this thing could just take off and go through and test 522.33 very quickly. So be paying attention, but always note the daily scale hasn't turned up. So we can't really say that this positive trend is going to test the high and go make a new one yet, but maybe we'll have to see what stocks look like after CPI. And Apple, we were mainly paying attention to actually a 30-minute chart, but here's a 2 hour chart just to show you there's no real reversal signals here. So be aware that you could get some kind of lower high if we end up going in the upward direction. But ultimately, if Apple wants to build back, it would have to react most likely to something like 246 and then see that dip down for some kind of shoulder at that point, unless you're just going to break through and squeeze, because we have some big implied volatility going into tomorrow. 30-minute chart here, we are noticing that this is one that just had the divergence on the RSI. That's really why we put our signal line up, to show like, hey, you can make some kind of trigger there. And this is actually one where I managed the risk, and then I ended up just going back into Amazon, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But you do have the divergence down here. The reason we're paying attention to it ultimately is because this thing's getting real beat up, and it's actually making some type of structure in here that could end up going positive, but we're aware of the risk. And the risk is very simple. Does the 30-minute turn down? Because the reason we're looking for a base is because we were always really looking for this test of the 236.36 area. We were aware that we could drop down to lower levels to test the exact breakout area down towards 230.05. That actually ended up happening. We ran into a weekly expected move, and we haven't reached down there since. So some very interesting things. The ultimate signal for Apple to go back to the bull side to test this high and go make a new one is going to be if the daily time frame can curl up. So that's what I'd be paying attention to for Apple. But I did end up moving some stuff around, so we're going to get into that as we get over to Amazon. I'm just going to click over to Tesla. I'm running low on time again. Tesla, great little open. Ooh, kind of faded throughout the day. So still the daily looking for that confirmation. Does Tesla have a good chance to continue in the upward direction? Well, at this point, you know, if you ever wanted to see like what a serious like possible cup and handle might look like, this might be it. And what are you doing? You're retesting the breakout area again. So if Tesla is actually able to turn up here on the 30-minute, that would be interesting. You are very, not very positive. I'd say you're relatively positive. You're positive enough that you're not too scared of a curl down, but you would be looking for that next swing up. And if that rejects in any way, I would be aware of that. The 2 hour chart is what I would seriously be aware of for downside. If you were going to see that 2 hour rotate down, you actually could skip through this low pretty quick and end up testing this one or going to make a new one. Remember, we were still looking if Tesla could come down to 357.78. So we're just paying attention to if this is going to remain bullish, okay. If it's not and the 2 hour crosses here, we cut this low, we're very likely to test this low and probably end up down towards 257.78. But the ultimate signal, if I'm just being patient and sitting around and, you know, twiddling my thumbs while everyone loses their minds, I'm just going, hey, does the daily give me a good signal here, right? The RSI is by the center line. You can put a signal line up there if you want to, you know, get in early or something like that. But as long as you know how to manage risk, we can be taking plays. You're managing risk is a great thing because it makes you very confident as a trader. We don't like this look as of right now for the daily. That curls up. Hey, that's when you can go test this high and go make a new one. So you might have some more time. We'll see what happens with CPI. I'm going to flip over to Amazon real quick, just trying to do this pretty quickly. Amazon's the one that I think looks the best. It looks the most flaggy. You're starting to get this thing tighter down in here, right? We're getting a little bit tighter, you would say. And this thing can see a reaction. Now, the reason that this daily could curl up here is, one, you don't have big reversal signals. You usually do make those a lot of the time for these bigger stocks. So we'll pay attention to it. That daily, if this thing could curl up, hey, you might be crossing through this high and ended up going to all-time highs again. So we're paying attention to it. The 2 hour chart is giving us something to work off of here, but unfortunately, we did not get that to confirm today. If anything, it might be just kissing right there on the RSI. So we're looking at it. Triple divergence on the RSI, single little divergence right here for your MACD. A little bit tight, right? A little bit tight for the MACD, a little bit tight for the RSI unless you include the triple divergence point. the first one. So we're paying attention to this, the 30-minute. Now, why are we super excited about this? Well, because that is significant divergence, my friends. That is significant divergence that was not able to confirm, but it might mean, hey, let me see how CPI is. And if this sees a good move above the 5, that would be a confirmation. Maybe you just have to wait 30 minutes in the morning to see the direction that the overall market chooses. You do have the weakening in momentum here, but you are not confirmed up just yet for the MACD or the RSI as it stands right now if you're using that signal line. I mainly am just looking for strength above that center line for the RSI though. So Amazon, it looks like it's building a strong base, but here's the deal. When you build a strong base, you get tight, you can see a big move. But the volatility tomorrow does not mean that it has to be in the upward direction. So I just want you to have a plan for tomorrow of what you are going to do as far as risk goes. What if things go wrong? I think that would be a good thing to think about tonight and just plan out. Hey, if this starts to go wrong, what is the exact things that are going to make me have to manage risk in this situation? I think that would be very helpful. Nvidia popping over to this. Nvidia is one of the trickier ones, right? The 2 hour is deeper into negative territory, really leaning towards a lower high at this point. We'll see if it can build back over time. I think something you really want to do here is probably end up staying in this area at some point, right? See a good move, diddle around in this area, and then see that break to the upside. I think that would be a good thing. The daily scale you can see is turned down, so Nvidia is not really on my radar as far as a bullish trade goes at this moment. I think there's better setups out there. That's why I went thoroughly through Amazon. Now you are noticing a little tiny something here. You're noticing a little tiny something, which would be the potential for some divergences here on the 30-minute. You can click into a 15. It might look a little smoother, and that 15 was able to confirm at the end of the day. So there are most likely some transactions coming in here, and we'll see what happens with CPI, right? A lot of this is going to be focused on the data tomorrow, so we'll be watching for it. Meta, as we go into Meta, you're just noticing another rejection divergence there on the 15. If we look at a 30-minute, you can kind of see it there. Now, the thing with Meta that's kind of worrisome is there could be more time in this, or it might need to build structure on the way up. This is not the strongest base in the world at this point. It could be some kind of double bottom to shoot you up to this area. But around this area, if you're not able to see some kind of massive gap or just blow past it and retest it, you are very likely to see this back off, maybe retest this level again down towards 598.41. As you can see, we used that as some support in the past, and we've had this line up for a little bit of time now, but that's where you could really create the structure for Meta to head up higher over time. The important part for Meta as well is, if you notice, the daily was able to curl down today, so that is why it's not necessarily on my radar as far as calls go. One of my rules, someone asked for, if you had a rule for when you were trading, what's one of your rules that you would share with us? And I go, one of my rules is, if a daily MACD has crossed down, no matter what the setup is, I'm not taking it for calls, man. I do not want daily momentum to take me in the downward direction. This could be some kind of double top at this point, so I'm not overly excited for Meta. I think it's actually one of the ones that looks a little bit bad now, weirdly enough. It was our strongest base, saw a great move, and then just a few days later, now it's like, ooh, that's crossing down, and it's pointing right towards the center line. Obviously, that can be changed with some CPI. Now, Microsoft is a different one. Microsoft, I think, will end up getting a lower high, right? That's just an I think. We'll see how things play out. But this is really close to the center line. Really, really good look here. And you can even see on the RSI that you're going to have a 2 hour divergence here. Look how good this divergence looks. I'm very excited for Microsoft. I don't think a lot of people are looking at this. And I think Microsoft looks really, really nice here. So the bad part is a lot of this is dictated by CPI. So you do have a steep divergence there, both having some good divergences that could say, hey, it pushes through that high, you might actually be going a little bit higher. So we'll look for if we can break through these key levels, maybe break out of our zone, retest in it to head a little bit higher there as we react to maybe something like 440. If we get some bullish things. Bearish things, right? Bearish things are, we're going to start to see these things cross back down, right? The 30-minute divergence that is right here at the end of the day. I don't know if you were watching, but that did end up confirming at the end of the day. So this says potential for some bullishness right away tomorrow, and we'll be paying attention. Remember, the big money moves because they have more info than you. So maybe we could read into this and we'll say, hey, We're not going to try to guess what the CPI is, but I do have some good signals. I'm going to manage my risk by managing the position size that I choose to take here, right? I'm not using huge position sizes going into a big data drop. That's just not what I do. So this looks good though. 30-minute base is there, 2-hour base is there, which means this is really, really looking good. And that 2-hour can curl up. Your daily might go to the upside and see some good price action there. AMC, let's pop over to this real quick because AMC, very, very important to see that this is flushing. We flushed right through a weekly expected move. And I think there's a goal here. I think this is very planned at this point because that's really random to happen. And it's happening at the same time as GME. You guys remember this morning, I notified you that yesterday they really turned up the short sale volume. I don't think those are closing positions at this point. I would say that those are definitely opening short positions in some way. So this means that we're most likely looking at a target of 292. Now, if you're wondering why I'm pointing out 292, one, there is a gap there. And I think they are pushing this down to maybe buy it at cheaper prices. And I'm being genuine about that. That's what I think, though. Pay attention to more so what I say about the actual signals, less about what I think, right? It just matters of what actually is proving in front of you as far as risking money goes. But the reason 292 is so important and why we could be beelining right for that gap fill, you might want to join Patreon for that, but I'm just going to tell you guys straight up. I think you guys are watching at this point. If you're trading AMC, you need to know there's a monthly expected move directly at 292. I believe it's directly on 292, which would mean for the entire month, if you end up there like tomorrow, you could see support at 292 and that could come in pretty strong. Okay, so just be paying attention. Now, as far as these signals go, this looks terrible. You have a daily that is pointing straight down. You have a 2-hour that's pointing straight down. You have a 30-minute that's pretty much pointing straight down. Really, really oversold. It seems orchestrated at this point, and it's very, very fishy to see for AMC. I don't see the reasoning behind it at this point. So we'll see what happens. But maybe you're looking still, as this still does move, you know, these charts do move in just like everything else. If the buyers step in, the buyers fail, I'm looking for reversal signals for a strong base still from AMC, maybe down towards 292. GameStop, big flush. And this is where, are you paying attention to both sides? Like genuinely, we notify these things about the bearish case of things. We always said, hey, watch for that daily signal. When we noticed that the 2-hour was giving some serious divergence, that crosses down. What does that overall mean? That means that the daily time frame could go through some trouble here. Why would it be bad for the daily MACD to cross here? Well, it would be bad because you have daily divergence. This is the reversal signal that we were pointing out. This was the risk. The risk is that all those people that are out there saying that tomorrow's the day every single day aren't paying attention to the actual price action. And maybe they just don't know what they're talking about a little bit, because this crossed down. When this crossed down, it's a lot different, right? This crossed down over here. We explained how that is a blip. You have a green bar above the 9, if not above the 5 on the daily chart. That's not a good confirmation. You know what is? This bar right here. This bar right here with the 2-hour weakness above you. This bar right here should tell you, hey, it'll be very risky. If you're really hoping this goes up, you better hope for a 2-hour curl up like right now. Didn't happen in the morning and just flush. So there is no reason for me to hold my calls once I see this, right? Maybe the reason is I see if that 2-hour can make the move in the morning. I see that fails and I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you have to be doing this back and forth. That's why I hold the stock and then I trade the options, because options are going to be the reason this thing really goes up and down is because the options market's giving a bunch of liquidity. So we're paying attention to this. Now, where did we say to look for? 28.35. I really like 28.35. We'll see if this is able to hold it up in some way. You could probably draw a little zone in here. But if you start to lose, I would say 26.50, maybe you go down to $26. You lose 26. Hey, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, don't be surprised if GME ends up down towards something like $22 to $20. $22 to $20. That can happen. So pay attention. That can happen. That's why you treat these signals very, very seriously, especially on a stock like GameStop. Now, most people saying that this is because of the closure of stores and things like that. Hey, okay, that's fine. But all you need to know is, you know, the last time we had a big drop like this, I mean, we pretty much just had a huge gap down. So today, they want you to see this. They really want you to be scared of this for a reason. So what is that reason? Is it so you get out of your positions and then they can buy it at cheaper prices? Because most likely, if some big players, like actual big players were doing it, they would do it in the post or pre-market. They wouldn't do it during market hours. So most likely someone big sold and then retail carried it further down. That is the most likely scenario there for GME. So just be watching out for that. Now, there is a couple of things with volatility that you can pay attention to. We noticed that the 30-minute was not able to cross down. You do have an interesting tiny divergence on volatility right now on the 30-minute chart for the RSI. Very interesting, and that is starting to cross down through the center line or through the signal line for the RSI. And notice where the 30-minute is. It is still in negative territory. So if that curls down, hey, you could see a bullish move. Maybe look for reactions around 1683. Now, the other side to that is if we're actually going to catch some kind of bounce as we're holding the 5, if that CPI comes out as bad news, you see this 2-hour curl up, that's going to be a big issue. Look, I'm just going to say it. That's going to be a big issue because that means you can test this high and go make a new one, which means you can cut the lows in the SPY. We can easily cut this low and go make a new one. So just be paying attention to the reaction from CPI. We still are paying attention to the dollar on the daily scale. That looks like, hey, that's starting to come down, but notice these wicks came in the last time. You don't want one of those wicks to come in. The 10-year yield starting to more so go sideways at this point with the data, but really a PPI coming in at 0.2 should be a good reaction down for the 10-year yield. So we'll be paying attention. Right as everyone freaks out about yields, the yields are going to start to come down potentially if we get a good CPI tomorrow, so we'll pay attention to it. So the main takeaway for today, guys, is we're still paying attention if the daily can cross up. We're still paying attention if the 2-hour can give us a good confirmation, and there are some charts that gave us some 30-minute divergences to potentially take an opportunity early, but did we manage risk, right? Did we manage our position sizing? That way we're not risking too much money going into a big event like CPI. That's the big deal there. So that's what I'd be doing. I'd be making a plan for tomorrow. Hey, if this is bullish, where am I targeting? Well, if I have SPY calls for the end of the week, I might just be targeting a daily expected move. If I have them till next week, maybe I can afford to wait and see if they get towards 593 if I don't see anything bad up here towards the daily expected move. Maybe tomorrow I need to pay attention to if that 30-minute, right, crosses down, because that would be a bearish thing. And maybe that's all I need in order to say, okay, we can test the low, go make a new one, and I can look see what things look like at this area down here towards the downside daily expected move. Have a plan for both directions, be ready to react, and then you just have to execute, and that's the truth of it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys want to learn how to trade into this stuff, it has been a wild market. We do have the courses down in the description, still 90% off as of right now. You can learn how to really utilize these weekly expected moves for just $100 right now, and that's crazy. So go click that in the description if you want to learn a little bit. If you have more questions, come to the live show in the morning. I've really appreciated a lot of people being in the live show. It's made it a lot of fun. We've looked at a lot of charts, and if you're new, you can always show up and be like, hey, I'm new here. Can you look at a stock for me? And I'll check it out for you. All right. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this community. I wish you nothing but luck, and you know what? No luck for tomorrow. No luck for tomorrow. No luck has to deal with it. I wish you some good accountability. I wish you some good planning, and I wish you some good reactions tomorrow. How about that? Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace out.